Everything Was Lost. The Collapse by Missy Gordon. Suddenly, everything was closing in. But it wasn't sudden. The building had already been collapsing for some time. I had been feeling claustrophobic, but now it wasn't just a feeling. The physical walls of the building were pressing against my body, and I had no choice but to face it. It was falling. The walls were closing in. Do I smell smoke? Climax. Drip, drip, drip. There was a leak in the bathroom ceiling, and I knew that. Just like I knew about the collapse, but it didn't matter that I knew. Still, I was startled awake every time, like it was the first time, when the droplets of dingy city water hit against my head and ran down my cheek like a tear. And there I was, pants around my ankles like a fool, walls closing in, contemplating what had happened. Again. What had happened? Everything was indeed lost. But how? And even more importantly, why? People are so quick to jump to the good part of the story. The triumphant climax, the cinematic crescendo. But why not pause at the rock bottom? Let's take a minute. The part before the climax is the most important part, in my opinion. It's the actual point. It's the lesson. The phrase, "it's the journey, not the destination," is a cliche for a reason. The part just before the phoenix rises from the ashes, the should I or shouldn't I flash of a second argument in the mind of the hero before they jump into action. What was the musician wearing before they wrote the song that changed history? What did the scientist eat for breakfast before they found the cure for cancer? For me, it wasn't a Fleetwood Mac t-shirt, and it wasn't a balanced breakfast. It was a moment of complete surrender while the house was on fire. And I couldn't even manage to do that. Surrender! I yelled at myself because everyone else had already left. I was paralyzed, standing there silent, cold, like a sociopath as I watched my life burn to the ground. No emotion. Or maybe it was every emotion all at once. Burning, burning, crackling flame, family pictures, and my guitars. Where are my journals? I found one that wasn't on fire and wrote a poem. Burning, burning. My life is burning to the ground. No one here to save me. No one is around. If a life falls in the forest, do we hear it make a sound? A little dramatic, I know. I wish that it wasn't so dramatic. I wish I was just a prima donna with incredible fashion sense and looks that could kill. So people look past her mood swings, you know what I mean? Or a brilliant comedian writing a dark joke that the audience awkwardly laughs at, secretly wondering if he was actually troubled or just kidding. I wish I was kidding. I wish I was exaggerating, but I'm not. Everything was lost. I didn't know which end was up. I felt dazed and confused. I tried to romanticize my fallen belief system, turn the collapse into art, write a book or a movie or a song, but nothing came. transmuting my pain into composition, my main coping mechanism, and it failed me. Go figure. My guitars, my piano, my journals, and my paints collecting dust, bathing in the dim sunlight of my studio. At least someone was getting a tan. I had been inside all winter, taping the walls together with duct tape running from the obvious. I fell off the map. I went ghost. I walked off the side of the planet just like the early explorers feared could happen and later proved it couldn't. And yet somehow it still happened to me. Remembering what and who, I forgot. Do I have amnesia? Really, I wondered about this. Am I okay? That was another big question. Will I be okay? Another one. Even as I write this, I wonder what exactly happened to me. Post-collapse, my memories felt out of reach somehow. Flashes of the old me weaving in and out of the fog as the ravens cawed. Am I just a shell of a person? Will I ever return to myself again? Where am I? Why do I feel like I'm out of my body? Is this derealization, depersonalization, dissociation, CPTSD, a spiritual awakening, or some sort of mad stroke of genius that will change the course of my life forever? Probably a little bit of everything. All the colors of the rainbow. I laugh to myself because I'm the only one here. I'll keep my debilitating pain and possible psychosis to myself, thank you very much. But was I crazy? I kept telling myself that if I'm asking myself if I'm crazy, I'm probably not. But why did my sense of self feel so far away? I felt like I died, and maybe a part of me did. But it felt deeper than a transformation. It felt like I was unrecognizable, especially to myself. The person looking back at me from the mirror was a different girl. Do I know you? The magician. I traveled a long way to get here. You can't turn me away now. I bargained with a muffled voice behind the door. You said you would come sooner. Now I'm booked. Sorry. Closed. When he said the word closed, he reached through the crack of the door, quickly hanging a sign that said closed right in front of my face. I turned away defeated. I should have left the building sooner, I thought. Why didn't I see the full picture? Why didn't I understand that my entire life was a lie? I hate to admit that I sat on the ground, not under a tree or anything profound like that, just sat directly on the dusty road and cried salty tears of regret. Sad, I know. Hey you. I turned to look but saw no one. Great. Now I'm literally hearing audible voices too. Maybe I am crazy. And from the bush, like the voice of God speaking to Moses, I saw a man hiding and rustling in the leaves. I wiped the dust off my strawberry-patterned velvet pants and walked towards the voice. Are you hiding too? From who? He asked. Yourself, I said. No, but I have something you're looking for. Mid-sentence, he flipped a gold coin into the air. Heads, you come with me. Tails, you stay here feeling sorry for yourself. He grinned at me with a mischievous look. I think I saw his eyes sparkle. Heads, he said, showing me the coin. At this point, I didn't even have the energy to argue. I traveled a long way and had nothing to show for it. Okay, I sighed, but he jumped up in excitement. So, who are you, anyway? I looked at the embroidery on his bright red cloak as I asked. Okay, believe me or don't believe me, but as he said these next two words, he disappeared and reappeared. I felt like I was suspended in time. The magician! How did you do that? Do what? He said in a performer's tone. Teach me to do what you just did. Magic is not taught, but honed. Come. I followed the magician through a narrow passageway. Dense bushes on every side. I had to turn sideways. What's with all the bushes? I thought. When we came through to the other side, I saw an old man with a long white beard cooking fish over a fire. The magician introduced me, but the words were muted. My eyes fixated on the roaring flame, taking me back to the collapse. On a spiritual journey, I see. Huh? I didn't know the old man was even talking to me at first. Half of me was still back at the burning building, watching everything go up in flames. The magician tells me that you went to see the town wizard, but with no luck. Yeah, he said he was booked. Come. The old man waved his hand, and I swear I saw the fire go out. Why are people always asking me to come? I would have made a sex joke, but I didn't think they'd laugh. Where are we going now? The magician laughed, looking at the old man. She's new. The books smelled musty, and the pages looked old, but I felt tangible, almost a creepy kind of magic that felt like 1,000 eyes witnessing my every insecurity as I entered the old man's library. Ah, here we are. He handed me a journal with his handwritten notes, mostly illegible. Here, he pointed. Believe in myself? I scoffed. Why laugh at what the gods embraced? You want power? Start there. He seemed annoyed with me. 100 times, he said, handing me a piece of chalk. Who am I, Bart Simpson? But he didn't get the joke, or maybe he just didn't think I was funny. By the time I got to I believe in myself, number 75, I had an epiphany. My past belief system was a house of cards. It would have collapsed on anybody. I thought it was just me, and I hated myself for it. The house collapsed, the walls closed in, my life burned down, and all was lost because it wasn't even mine to begin with. My life was compiled of information passed down, a series of letters that never belonged to me, with names I had never seen before but tattooed on my skin, and had only myself to blame, because it was me who decided that these crumbling beliefs were worthy of preservation. Have you gotten to 100 yet? Now he was sipping some sort of weird tea with an octopus tentacle draping over the side of the saucer. 75, I said. Keep going. He still looked a little annoyed, but I stopped on 75 and couldn't go any further. I was stuck. Rise and shine. I wiped the drool off my face, jolting upward like a lightning bolt, eyes squinting in the sun like the morning after, fighting a wicked hangover. Oh yeah, I fell asleep in the library at I Believe in Myself, number 75. Time to find answers. Come. I thought about making the sex joke again, but I refrained. Here we go again. I think my eyes saw the back of my head, looking for truth in all the wrong places. Don't think, just release, and the arrow will find its center. Bullseye. The truth does the same, he said. We were standing in a field 2 miles deep on the old man's land, and all I wanted to do was go home. But I didn't have a home anymore. I'm not an archer, I said. You are now. He looked amused. Better than annoyed, I guess. I picked up the bow, and I could tell he was doing a Mr. Miyagi thing, so I just went along with it. Pull back and release. He breathed as I let go, but my arrow flew straight into the woods. Just as well, the old man said. Sometimes the truth isn't where we think it's supposed to be. His voice faded as he moved into the trees. Moves fast for an old man, I thought. Holding the arrow in one hand and handing me a blank sheet of paper in the other, he looked right at me and said, I want you to write down 5 things you're thankful for. But I couldn't think of anything. What happened to me? I used to be so hopeful, so fun, whimsical even. Now I'm cynical and bored and have nothing to show for myself. I wasted over 2 decades aiming for a bullseye that I'd never get to relish in. Still, I figured I'd be able to think of something to be thankful for. I went to reach for my favorite pen, but then I remembered it was ash. Another thing to be unthankful for. I told him I lost my pen. Where has it gone? It went up in flames with the rest of my life. Ah, I see. When I blinked my eyes, we were somewhere else. Isn't it beautiful? The old man pointed at the horizon, the sun beginning to set. Golden hour. We were standing at the top of the mountain, but I didn't remember climbing it. I felt delusional, more than usual. Now I'm rhyming. I wish I had my pen. This is good stuff. How did we get up here? But he ignored the question. Not everything is lost. The mountains still stand, as do you. His voice was firm, and the sun reflected off of the white strands of his beard, hitting me directly in the eye for extra effect. The scene was beautiful, though. He was right. Damn, Mr. Miyagi trope works every time. 5 things I'm thankful for. 1. Mountains. Wait. I was stunned. I realized I was writing the word mountains with my favorite pen.